each other in big group. So if you can wrap up your conversations. And which table wants to go first? Oh, all right. Who's going to be the spokesperson? Yeah. All right. All right. So everybody. Yeah. If you can finish your conversations. What's your name? Nikki.
I'll hold it.
Nikki and Alana. Yeah. Nikki and Alana are going to present now. You can go over here if you want to go in the front. It would just be perfect. Yeah, come up to the front. All right. All right, so if we can all stop our chattering, if we can stop our conversations so we can see what you came up with. Go for it.
All right, so we came up with 2 solutions with some items underneath them, but the first one is create decision trees to assess feasibility. So within your decision tree, some things to consider are fit for purpose, so aligning with what your audience needs and the purpose of the interpretation that you're providing. Ethics, so assessing, accuracy that you're going to provide. What are the ethics around that, and what risks does it pose to propose an AI solution? Accessibility and inclusivity, is this going to allow for more audiences to participate? Are we going to increase inclusivity in this way? Budget, always the first thing that the client is looking at, so make sure you're assessing budget optimization. And then lastly, tool alignment. What are going to be the best tools to, offer the services? And then educating all stakeholders involved. So what are the expectations that the client has, or just in general that you want for outcomes? Proper disclaimers, if you're using AI, to say that there are risks associated with this at whatever capacity you see them. Best practices for usages and outcomes for perhaps your interpreters, for the people involved in putting together, or your clients even. And then risk assessments, so making sure that everyone understands the risks and are prepared for potential risks to help alleviate them. So those are our suggestions.
Great, thank you. That's great. And for the note taker at each table, don't forget, we'll want your notes too, if it's and put your name on your notes so we know who took the notes. All right, which table wants to go next?
I think we have
yeah. It doesn't have to be in line, but yeah.
I'll shout. Thanks, Bill. All right, thanks. So we talked a little more about maybe solution also, not necessarily recommendation, but we started talking a lot about glossaries, tailored glossaries, where AI can definitely start helping interpreters right away. This can be contextual for calls, if it was on demand, for example, things coming up, popping up during a call for specific terminology that interpreter might not be familiar with for specific topics, or it can be also in preparation for more the simultaneous case where, in preparation for an assignment, you have all the glossary generated for the interpreters, or even assisting the interpreter throughout an event when they're interpreting with specific terminology that will help them during their assignment. We then have a whole conversation about quality enhancement and insurance. That can be during a call, can be post-call, and it can be tailored for a specific interpreter call. So if an interpreter takes a call, let's say on medical radiology we're talking, and they were not really familiar with the topic, the AI tool can just do some reinforced learning for the interpreter on that specific subject instead of just be generic. Or potentially you can just use QA processes deployed massively and not in just sampling mode, because AI can just do it. And then we have the last point about the whole conversation about the end user and buyer education, where we come into place, because we need to make sure that they are aware of what can be done with AI, what cannot be done by AI, how it works, and things like this. Of course, it's more on the commercial aspect, but there's a lot of buzz also around AI. People don't necessarily understand what AI can do. It's our responsibility to show also. Did I capture everything? Yeah.
All right, I have some questions at the end, I think. Next table, I guess, are we going in a row?
Either you guys can go or you guys can go.
Or do we just, okay, Gonzalo, all right.
Well, we kind of said that interpreters need proper training on how they're going to use AI. So it's not just one more thing they have to deal with, and it's actually something helpful rather than, oh my God, now I have another source of information, and what do I do with it? So it enhances our work rather than completely. No, I mean, we were just thinking about in the simultaneous and in the consecutive, whether it was just, I mean, you're having the AI and you're listening and you're getting the glossary and just kind of how to deal with this. So much information at the same time. It's fast enough as it is, and you kind of need that. The second one was to manage expectations for everyone involved, for all the stakeholders. What can the AI do? What can it cannot do? In what circumstances will it do it? In what circumstances will it not? With what language pairs? It's not the same depending on the language pairs. So just kind of really for interpreters, for end users, for clients, when yes, when not, and how that can work. And use it as a universal language detector. And we were talking about how it's sometimes difficult to find out what language a person is speaking in on the demand arena, and that would help. But that doesn't mean that it might end up it might end up being a language that AI is not producing a good outcome. So it's probably just to say, oh, don't use me. That sort of thing. I think that was it for our recommendations.
I like that. Use the AI to set its own boundaries. Right? It's seriously a good idea. So, last table, who wants to present?
So our table, we have 3 or 4 action items. The first one is to identify the criteria. When, what is the low risk? Why? What is the high risk? When, we cannot use AI, when we can use AI for interpretation in collaboration with the clients. That's the first one. Second one is we are very business oriented, the pricing model, right? I think one of the challenge that is difficult to apply AI interpretation is the price, right? Clients want to pay less, but provider have other costs. It's not only the direct cost, there are indirect costs. So it is important to have a cost model. The third one, I think, is to I couldn't read the second. Oh, yeah, the third one. Okay, actually it's from me. So it's a hybrid model. For example, you use AI interpretation for some low risk, non-life-threatening situations, but you have one human in the loop. For example, if the interpretation goes the other direction, opposite direction, the human interpreter will intervene. I used to have 3 interpreters, now maybe you just have 1. The fourth one is to use AI to simplify, streamline your business processes. For example, to analyze your data, to rank your interpreters, to analyze the feedback on the interpreter. So streamline the process. I think that's all.
Well, we still have a few minutes left. For me, some of the takeaways from listening to all of you, first of all, I just want to thank everybody for sitting for an hour and like talking and thinking, because, you know, GALA's got 500 attendees, but how many, not that many interpreter attendees, people really involved with this. And so getting everybody together and sort of picking your brain and letting you talk with each other, I find really valuable. I hope you found it valuable. I would just sort of like to put out that thought that really some of the people in this room are the people that's going to dictate how this plays out, right? I mean, this is the association where the companies are the ones driving forward these solutions. So we will gather all of this information and gather the notes and do what we can to summarize it and hope that it's a useful, just sort of snapshot moment that can help people, you know, remind what they spoke about. But really, it's kind of on us on some of this, right? to figure out. I get stuck on that client education piece because I know how invisible, on the one hand, the whole language service process, our Achilles heel has been how invisible it is to our clients. They don't really understand all these nuances. And now suddenly we're in a moment where we have to get good at teaching them nuances. So that's kind of what that would be my last question, maybe for the group, if anyone wants to comment on it, or like, how do we actually do that? How do you envision helping clients appreciate nuance that's not based on cost? Because that's kind of what we're suggesting, right? There'll always be some clients where it's like, nope, I need the least cost, and that's my top priority. But for clients that are trying to do something like, okay, I need to decide which is the best use case. So I'm just curious how people see that moving forward.
One of the suggestions that I was making in the group is that we offer bundled services. For example, we schedule appointments for our customers. We do what's called a message relay, and then we provide an in-person interpreter to show up for that appointment. And so what we can do is offer a bundled solution, but use AI, for example, to schedule the appointment and say it's free. You know, it's part of the overall solution. And this way, they will be amenable to being introduced to machine interpreting, and then they may consider it in other low-risk situations where if it's the alternative is to not have an interpreter at all, and to use it for rare languages and so on.
So to add to that, this is something we discussed at this table as well, is how it's the experience that really gives you the information that you need. And even as we were discussing, sometimes we weren't really sure. I mean, I wasn't at least really sure that we were talking about the same thing. Everything is evolving really fast. We have the words to talk about it. But we can identify situations that we can showcase, either through direct experience or very visual. This is, this is about being very educational through showcasing situations, and then people can get it by seeing.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that's good. Really good point.
So one of the concepts that we spoke about was actually introducing the AI technology. It's an opportunity to actually educate. So speak slowly, repeat, so we can start educating both on the AI front and on the live interpreters. And I think we could use the technology to do that. I thought it was a great discussion at this table.
Yeah, great discussion. And I also wanted to ask Nikolai and Dieter and Caroline, since I've sort of moderated this, but to come up and share any final thoughts, because you were at some of the tables as well. I mean, if you have final thoughts to share, and otherwise, we'll go have lunch. But any, nope? Yes, Caroline? Okay.
I just want to say thank you to everyone. You guys are amazing for your feedback. Enjoy your lunch, and it's been great to be here with you all.
Yeah, thank you. Now do I can actually...